This video was brought to you by Brilliant. On Tuesday night, former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris took to the stage for a grueling 90-minute debate hosted by ABC News. While Trump started strong, attacking Harris on inflation and the economy, he quickly fell into a series of well-prepared traps by Harris and struggled with questions on issues including abortion, race, and healthcare. After the debate, there was a wide consensus that Harris had won, and her odds of winning in November actually spiked sharply on betting markets. So in this video, we're going to take a look at what happened on Tuesday night, and whether it'll be enough to get Harris into the White House. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. Now, let's start with a bit of context. As we mentioned in our previous video, in recent weeks, polling has started to turn a little sour for Harris. After a New York Times Siena College poll gave Trump a 1-point lead nationally, Nate Silver's aggregator cut her polling lead down to about 2 points, down from 4 points in late August. And his forecast also gave her just a 35% chance of winning in November, down from 55% in late August. Now, this is why the debate was so heavily anticipated. Everyone knew that a good performance from either candidate could tip the balance in their favor. So what actually happened on Tuesday night? Well, as always with Trump, it was pretty entertaining viewing. It did start off pretty cordial, with Trump telling Harris to have fun, but things quickly heated up. The first topic was the economy, which should have been good for Trump, given that polls suggest that voters are broadly unhappy with Biden and Harris's economic record. As such, Trump attacked Harris on inflation, denying that his tariffs would increase prices and claiming that Harris doesn't have a plan.
We've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. And who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. She doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Harris responded by attacking Trump's own economic record during his presidency and claiming that his tax breaks would benefit the rich.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy.
The next topic was abortion, and this is when things started to get difficult for Trump. Trump was asked why he U-turned on Florida's abortion ban last month, and he responded by claiming that Democrats are in favor of executing babies, a claim that received short shrift from the moderators.
He said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Trump also struggled to say whether he'd veto a national abortion ban if it was proposed by a Republican Congress.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it.
For her part, Harris blamed the overturning of Roe directly on Trump and accused Trump and Republicans of interfering with a woman's right to choose.
let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest. One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that.
Then it was on to immigration. Here, Trump began by attacking Biden for failing to secure the border. But after Harris questioned the size of Trump's crowd sizes, he sort of snapped, attacking her for not having any fans and talking about Haitian immigrants eating pets in Springfield.
So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from television.
But the people are on television saying their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Trump was then asked about January 6th, and he refused to say that he regretted anything, and said that the rioters were being treated very badly.
This group of people that have been treated so badly, I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people? I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big.
Trump also refused to accept that he lost the 2020 election, prompting Harris to tell him that other world leaders were laughing at him.
In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I said that sarcastically. You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically.
World leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
There was then a foreign policy section, where perhaps the most interesting bit was Trump's refusal to say that he wanted Ukraine to win. Trump was then asked about his previous comments on Harris's racial identity, to which he responded,
I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
Harris responded by accusing Trump of being divisive, referencing his support for the birther movement and the execution of the so-called Central Park Five, 5 black and Latino boys who were wrongfully convicted of raping a woman, which Trump then sort of defended.
Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that.
Then it went on to healthcare. Again, the defining moment here was when Trump was asked what he'd do with Obamacare, only to give an obfuscatory answer and insist that he has the concepts of a plan.
We come up with something. I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
In their closing statements, Harris came up with some pretty bog standard platitudes, pitching herself as a unity candidate. While Trump basically asked Harris why she hasn't done all of the great things she's been promising, given that she's been VP for 4 years. Anyway, as these clips suggest, Harris won the debate. CNN's exit poll had 63% of watchers giving it to Harris, with her favorability going up 6 points, while Trump's fell by 2. But how much does this actually help Harris? Well, there's a received wisdom that debates don't actually influence elections all that much, but it's clearly not always true. After all, Biden's catastrophic performance in the debate earlier this year sparked a collapse in the polls, and eventually ended with his withdrawal. The viral clips generated by this debate, plus the fact that it was many voters' first time seeing Harris in action as presidential candidate, mean that it could have a reasonable impact on the election, and we should at least expect it to arrest her recent decline in the polls. Especially given that, in CNN's exit poll, 23% of Trump voters said that their support was wavering after the debate, compared to 12% of Harris voters. Also encouragingly for Harris, the bookies' odds have also improved. On Polymarket, the biggest crypto-based prediction market in the US, Harris's odds of winning in November spiked from about 45% to 50% during the debate, while they've reached 60% on PredictIt, another well-established prediction market. Now, there's obviously still a long way to go, but all in all, Tuesday was a very good night for Harris, and you can see why her team want another debate. With issues like these, it's often hard to come to the right conclusions. So if you want to improve your decision making, you'll want to check out Brilliant. Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, data analysis, programming, and AI. For instance, there's the Scientific Thinking course, which takes you on an interactive tour of our physical world. You'll engage with key scientific principles and theories, from simple machines like gears and pulleys to Einstein's special theory of relativity. It's not just a bunch of lectures either. You'll learn by doing, with hands-on lessons that will have you comparing circuits to understand voltage and current, playing snooker to learn the rules of collision, planning your itinerary for an intergalactic music festival on a space-time diagram, and more. That way, you'll build your natural intuition while gaining deep knowledge of scientific principles. Find out more and try everything Brilliant has to offer for a full 30 days by visiting brilliant.org/TLDR or by clicking the link in the description. That way, you'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Thanks for your support, and thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this video.